noted, that's going to be going to the council.
Right, but the council agenda is what you wanted amended, right? For the
Right.
voting action? Okay, so
Right.
we'll do that at council though.
Okay,
But yes, I got that saved.
all right, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion then to accept the minutes. Motion by Herbst, second by Ryan? Oh, motion by Ryan, second by Herbst, sorry. And we have all members present tonight in person, so we won't need to voice vote. Members in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action regarding carryover of project and designated funds to the 2021 budget. And we'll turn that over to Mary Ann. You'll see in the packets that we have a small volume yet of unfinished work, it looks like, so.
Yes, so the majority of this is in the capital projects funds, and, you know, we have projects that span multi-years. The budget is created and adopted prior to the commencement of the project, and then what we do when 1 year ends is compare what we had budgeted for the project, what expenses have been drawn on that project to date, and then we carry over those funds to the next year so that the project can be completed. And the attached schedules, which are Exhibit A, outline all of the individual projects and where they are. So, for example, and we can go through them, you know, the DOT projects. This is an area where we're continually carrying over because the state takes a long time to close out their projects. So this is carryover on the state project. The Metro ride, they received funding in 2020's budget for certain capital asset replacement, their HVAC, their floor scrubber, and then also the capital grant, the local share for the VW bus purchase. None of those were completed in 2020, so we're carrying the funds over to 2021. Professional services within the engineering department. This helps them fund any of their consulting work that they rely on for projects. We're carrying over those funds. The airport facility, this also is a state project. There are 2 state projects, the fuel farm and the tank replacement that the state is in the midst of, as well as that east hangar area. So those 3 projects, I just got another bill today from them. They come in small bits and pieces, so this is to fund the rest of those project costs. The Parks Department had several projects that they did not complete. The playground equipment, the dog park, and then they had a delay in their rolling stock replacement. And so those will carry over their projects. Technology is related, again, to different software. So the law enforcement software, sometimes payments are held while we're waiting for the performance of the software companies. I know Jerry has been holding payments, withholding payments on the law enforcement software, waiting for final work to be completed. So that's the law enforcement software. The computer software is for municipal court and special assessments. Both of those, municipal court is not quite underway yet, but I think we're in contract negotiations, and I think assessment, it should be special assessment and assessment. That one is underway, as is the community development loan software. We're nearly done with the community development loan software implementation. So I would expect all of those to be deployed then in 2021. The City Hall boiler replacement project, the equipment or the new boiler has been purchased. There was some final things that need to be done on the install that we needed to wait until the winter season was over. So that final work on installation will be done in 2021. The fire department equipment was for their breathing, I can't remember what it's called. Shoot. And I know Tracy actually came and asked for consideration of this separately, but I can't remember what it's called, sorry. And GIS is a 3-year project where we gave them funding, and it's drawn over a period of years. From tax increment district number 3, we have Barker Stewart Island. That again was budgeted in 2020. The Parks Department started work on that, but they are telling me they're going to complete that in 2021. And then some repairs to 3rd Street corridor after the Aspires project was to be complete was budgeted. And of course that was delayed because the Aspires project was delayed. The Central Capital Equipment Fund works a little differently in that these are replacement funds. And so, you know, we know that we need to make an investment in PCs and our video equipment on a regular basis. And so we fund that, and then IT draws upon it as those replacements take place. So you can see in 2020, we had 138,000 budgeted. They drew 105 out of there, so that 33 remains in that replacement fund to fund future purchases. The same with the video, phone, and cameras. That works the same way. The public access equipment, if you recall, Council and the Finance Committee authorized some special funding towards the end of last year so that they could upgrade their equipment, but we weren't able to spend that yet. So that is for public access. And then we just had a few of them in the general fund. One was for the strategic plan. Funding was set aside for that. For the emergency government municipal agreement with the county for $10,000. And for Parks has some separate funding for Emerald Ash Borer, and they needed to do some final wrap-up regarding that contract in 2021. So that is the extent of the carryovers for what I would call either special projects or capital projects. So we carry that money over, and then it becomes available to finish that project in 2021.
Okay. Does anyone have questions on any of the carryover items that Mary Ann went through? If not, is there a motion to approve the carryovers? Motion by Herbst, is there a second? Okay, let's get a second. Do we have a second? Second by Watson. Go ahead, Deb.
Towards the end of last year, we had talked about potentially maybe 27,000 for additional videotaping of a number of city meetings that weren't originally on. So is that something you're going to be talking about, the general fund, and how we should be
Yes.
allocating that as well, then,
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yeah, we can do that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions on the carryovers? If not, then we have a motion and a second on the floor. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed. That item carries. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding the 2021 budget modification for additional testing at Riverside Park for $18,000. You'll see we've got some supporting info in the packets indicating that Wisconsin DNR has requested that we do some additional testing on Riverside. Looks like they have in the past worked with REI and are looking to use them again, just for some continuity. And we have the Public Works Director with us if anyone has questions for him on Riverside or the testing. I think the materials in the packet are pretty complete. Does anyone have anything for questions on the item? If not, is there a motion to approve the additional testing? Motion by Ryan, is there a second? Second by Watson. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the item. Members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? None are opposed. That item passes as well. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding a request for funding to cover insurance for the Labor Day Parade. Petitioner is Randy Radke from the Marathon County Central Labor Council. Every year when they can have a Labor Day Parade, we get a request from the Labor Council asking if we will assist them with covering the special event costs for the liability insurance associated with their parade. I believe every year they've requested it, we've approved it. Do we take that out of promotions or room tax?
Yep,
Usually
promotions.
promotions. So this is kind of a standing order with the Labor Council between us and them. Does anyone have questions on that item at all? If not, is there a motion to approve it? Motion by Herbst, second by Martins. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That item passes as well. Item number 5 is for discussion only regarding the American Rescue Plan spending and recommended guiding principles. And you'll see some written materials in the packets from the GFOA with just some, at least the shell of a guideline for where we're heading with the Rescue Act funding. Mary Ann, did you want to walk through that a little bit?
Sure, and I just thought this would be, a great way to kind of introduce the subject, because I'm sure it's going to be something that monopolizes a lot of our time at some point, once the spending guidelines have been fully developed. And like I said, this would just be a kickoff to those discussions. So it looks like the city's getting about $15.7 million. We have through calendar year 2024 to spend the funds. So we have, considerable amount of time to be real thoughtful in how to best utilize those dollars. And the GFOA, which is the government finance officers, just really outlined a few things. One is to take your time and to really try to be impactful in that spending, and really to give yourself some time to see how the whole American Rescue Plan pans out, because there are going to be other allocations that the city may be able to apply for. And so if we use this for a certain thing and then other funding opportunities that have maybe some different guidelines, we might not be able to maximize our use of funds. So they're, suggesting that you wait until a lot of information is available. And that, the broad categories are revenue replacement, COVID expenses, premium pay, and investment in water and sewer and broadband. I thought the other point that they made about trying to shy away from creating new programs that are going to need to be fed in the future, because this is some certain allocation of funds. And so if we create programs that then will require additional subsidies in future years, it will put further demands on our tax levy, and will, be required to prioritize those even further. And so, their recommendation is to really look at those things that are more like one-time costs, because this is a one-time money. So.
Excellent. Questions on that? Go ahead, Sarah.
I really liked their recommendation about coordination between all of the people that could get funds. Do you know if we're planning on trying to coordinate with, is Marathon County getting any, is the tech, and
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, so I know that the county's getting 25 million, and all of the townships and, villages are getting some funding too. So we've been talking about this. We have weekly meetings. We're not quite sure. It sounds to me like the towns are gonna have a hard time figuring out how to spend this, so they might be coordinating more with the county when it comes to things like broadband and that kind of expansion. But we are talking. I think that we should definitely come to it with a point of view, though, because I know that what we want to do might vary wildly from the kind of suggestions they'll offer. So we should partner with them, but let's have a strong point of view going into it.
And we have heard, I'm not sure, what I've heard is that the state is really going to be looking at using a lot of their funds for broadband too. So again, it might be one of those things where, while we might think broadband is a good investment, maybe it will be taken care of in another fashion. I don't know.
True. I think it helps to know how some of the entities ahead of us are going to spend theirs before we commit to much. I think that's a cautious approach. Additional questions or comments on the American Rescue Act?
Is there other potential funding for making improvement to our roads? Or is this all under that umbrella?
I can kind of address that.
Go
There,
ahead.
there is an infrastructure bill working its way through Congress. No guarantees there, though. But if you feel like writing to your congressional representatives, definitely do that.
That, and then there's also some movement to try to free up some additional state aid for us for infrastructure. So in a perfect world, if all of that would pan out, we certainly could get a lot off of our to-do list. So something to watch, definitely. Sarah?
So when will disbursements begin for the money?
My understanding is May 10th
Okay.
is the first disbursement date.
And then the second one is a year out, right?
Yeah, next year.
And then, I mean, do we have like a plan on how we're going to sort of strategize, like what we want to do spending? Like, is there going to be a subcommittee or forums?
So I've been taking the approach, and, Mary Ann and I've been kind of strategizing here. I don't want to rush anything too much, just based on waiting for guidance from Treasury. But, we do have some of those DOR that Wausau CPR you participated in. I think that's a really great place to continue the conversation about what the community wants. I think maybe having a public hearing would be great. Again, though, I think that as policymakers, definitely we should have a point of view when it comes to this, and be talking about the kinds of projects we'd like to see.
I think we should. I think that this committee should certainly stay involved with that. I think that if we were to form a subcommittee, it would likely have to include members of this committee anyway. So I think that this committee is equipped to not only make the decision, but also to engage the community. So if we want to have a community conversation about, any of the above, we can certainly have that in the context of one of our meetings. And, have the item for discussion only. And, if we invite people here, or whether we go to them, it doesn't really matter. But I think that we should maybe confine the spending decisions to this committee and, then open our doors to the community if we want to have those conversations.
I guess the other thing is I have this like annoying municipal finance person on my shoulder that's constantly yelling in my ear. It's not you, Mary Ann. It came before you. But, it's constantly telling me, like, don't use one-time money for ongoing expenses. And however we have that conversation with the community, like, we got to drill that into everybody's minds, because that's going to come up constantly. I'm already having people tell me, oh, we should do this, we should create this, you should do that. So I think this committee is very well equipped to remember all of those good municipal financing precepts, but we will have to drill that into the community as well.
Well, and it is easy, I think, for us to determine, like, if you can use part of those funds for municipal loss during the pandemic. We know exactly what those numbers are because we've been tracking them, but that's a tiny percentage of what we're actually getting by comparison. So, some of those decisions are real easy to make, and some of them require definitely a more thoughtful approach. So, go ahead, Deb.
We had mentioned at the CISM meeting, which Lisa and I are on anyways, that to look at some of those other projects. And I'm sure as we had the discussion a number of years ago about could the city go ahead and had some automotive taxes on, so to have more money available for our roads. So I think we're getting some surveys and public input, but I would think the majority of our neighbors are looking for a lot more improvements in our roads.
There is, and there is a concept that's kind of starting to emerge now and gather some conversation that would be worth talking about in this committee at some point, is the formation of a transportation utility, much like a stormwater utility, and much like, where you would accrue funds and then they're there when projects need them. Separate from wheel tax, it's not license plate based, but it is something that, we certainly could consider. Obviously, we have discussed in this committee before that we've been hamstrung for a number of years by direct legislation that requires a referendum to institute any sort of new fees that would move things off of the levy and create fair charges for them. So future discussions to come in this committee on that. But I think that, we can have some discussions going forward for how we can make real impact and real changes that will show some progress in our mill rates over time. So I think this is a good time to have those conversations as well. And so we'll be working on that in the coming months. So anything else on American Rescue Plan? If not, we'll place that item on file. And we have 2 items for closed session tonight. Would someone like to read the language for both of those? Or take turns reading them?
We do have
Oh, do you have an
discussion
addendum?
about open session first, though, if we wanted to, yes, there was
Sure.
an addendum here. Do you want to-
So, yep, Okay, and so we do have an addendum for these two items. And so the addendum, let's see, the first item on the addendum, let's take those first, is discussion and possible action on approving an offer to settle a claim filed with Zagster Incorporated. And you'll recall, a few months ago, we had a conversation with the city attorney where Zagster was actually contracted to provide bikes on the Riverwalk, and then essentially collapsed and had no money to pay us with, and they wanted to give us $900, and we said no. And then decided to wait and see if that settlement offer would improve with time. It appears it has. We have the city attorney with us this evening if you have questions for her. But that offer now is a percentage of our claim, and it looks to be somewhere between $3,000 and $4,500. I guess, do you have anything you want to walk the committee through, Ann, on this item? Come on up if you'd like to talk about that. And Zagster isn't agendized for closed session, so we
Right,
can act
'cause-
on this without.
Yeah, we look back and we'd handle that, although typically we do offers to settle in closed. We handled this in open before, so just to remind everybody, we didn't really know and we had no way of predicting if the offer would get any better or what would happen. So Zagster filed bankruptcy and they sold all of their assets minus their stock to another corporation. And so this gentleman that keeps calling me is from Schneider Downs, which is a financial company, and he represents the trust. He's the administrator of the trust. So he keeps telling me he has various investors coming forward that are willing to buy our claim. And so again, we're just in the same, he offered 20%, but he said he could maybe push them to 25. So I included that in my memo so you could see the amount. And you're right, we just paid $18,000 of the $36,000 contract. So again, it's a business decision. I don't know what you want to do or if you're feeling any different than you were last October and you want to take this money and run. He seemed really pushed because I said we could meet on April 27th and he said that's too late. And I said, well, your message was you needed to do this by April 30th. So I think they just keep upping their offers to get rid of more and more claims, and maybe the people at the end will get paid when they have to liquidate their stock, but there's no guarantees.
There's not, we're still in possession of the bikes, as I understand. We had them in
I
storage.
think so too.
Yeah, so, you know, that said, I mean, we really have nothing to lose by waiting. You know, I mean, what do you guys think? Go ahead, Deb.
I don't think it's going to get any higher, and then they've already going through bankruptcy. It's doubtful that the shareholders will get anything, but the debtors are first in line, and the shareholders are last, so I would say go for it.
Okay, is that a motion to approve the settlement?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second to approve the settlement?
In what amount, Deb, are you making your motion? The 25% or the 20%?
Well, I think it's up to what they recommend finally, but I would say the 3,600, but if it goes up to 4,500, that we would accept that as well.
I don't
feel
think
like
they're going to
more-
offer any more unless we push
Right.
them.
I
So if
feel
we
like more
approve
is
the
better.
higher-
I mean, we could always settle for less, but if we were going to negotiate a settlement, we'd obviously want to push for the higher amount.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and go for 4,500 then?
All right, so that's her motion. Did you get a second?
Do we have a second for Deb's motion? Second by Watson. So to clarify the motion, it would be a motion to accept the settlement offer from Zagster at 25% or $4,500. Questions, comments? Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so if we were still in possession of the bikes, would we have to then, would somebody pick the bikes up, or do we dispose of them, or I guess, what would be their final disposition of? Or
Well,
do we
my
know?
recollection is they were sold to someone else who was trying to, Brad Sipple was in charge of that were trying to sell them back to us at $300 a piece. I don't know what's finally happened with, I don't know if Sean knows, or you want to come up,
Come on
Sean?
up, Sean. I know they were looking for the option for some non-proprietary software to resume the rental with.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I believe Mary Ann, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the city's acquired those bikes now and is in ownership of them. Parks Department has them in storage at this point, and yes, the Parks Department is working along with community development to identify some providers for the software, as well as provide ongoing maintenance. But there's a plan to continue the program. The city also owns the 2 racks that are out where those bikes are stored and charged as well.
Excellent.
So, okay, so the bikes would be totally separate from this?
Correct, yeah. The
From the
bikes are the city's asset at this point,
Okay.
and not Zagster's asset.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if $4,500, 10 bikes, that seems like a, good cost for what the, reimbursed for what the bikes are. And unfortunately, yeah, we're losing, the greater share of that 18,000 we invested into the program, but I don't know if we wait another 6 months if it's going to get any better than that. This seems like a good second offer to me.
True, I think it's important to recognize also with that original 18,000, I believe that was not levy dollars, that was funding that we had received to enter that program from a foundation, correct?
Yes. And the bikes we purchased for $210 each.
Okay,
Okay,
so that mostly covers our bikes.
makes this a little better, yeah.
Yeah, so.
All right, so with a motion and a second on the floor then, any additional discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries as well. And so one of our closed session items, item number 7, I'll give us the opportunity for some open session discussion first, is discussion and possible action regarding the sale of city-owned property at 510 South 32nd Avenue. You'll recall a council meeting or two ago, we had a robust discussion about the disposition of former fire station number 2 and what to do with that. We had an offer on it that required a special meeting for a response. There was a speedy turnaround needed. We were unable to come to consensus on that other than to try to delay the deadline. And I believe since then, that offer has gone away. So there are no offers now, is that?
We have a new
We
offer.
have a new offer, okay. Do you want to review any of that in open session, or do we want to discuss it in closed and then potentially take action in open?
So I think we could disclose the offer. We have received an offer of purchase for $150,000. It would be used as a single-family home. And we have the buyer here in case, we thought maybe it would be helpful for you to hear what his vision is for the property, and that it may be kind of a neat story that it's a firefighter that wants to buy it. So
Okay.
I don't know if Jeremy wants to come.
Okay, come on up. Tell us your vision. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Kopp, and my wife and I made the offer with the idea of an extensive interior remodel and to keep the fire station looking like a fire station from the exterior. Thought it would be kind of a neat opportunity for us to do something unique. And the reason the offer is what it is because it's going to cost at least that much to renovate it and make it livable for us as a single family. So I thought, why not make the offer? And we've been having a heck of a time trying to find residents in the city of Wausau. It seems like every time a house goes for sale, it's sold in a day. So this seems like a unique and quite the optimistic opportunity for my wife and I to move into the city of Wausau and change the fire station into a single-family home.
Excellent. Anyone have questions for Jeremy? It would be nice to see that go to someone who understands and loves its history. So that's certain. And so we also have this item agendized for closed session,
Yes.
so we can talk about that. Committee members, do you feel that you want a closed session? You don't have to have one. So, if you are apt to accept the offer, you can do that without a closed session if you choose. Further discussion? Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Herbst. Do we have a second? Second by Watson, to approve and accept the offer of $150,000 for the building, recognizing that it would be converted to a single-family home. Any additional questions? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries. Oh, Deb, question? Go ahead.
Deb voted no.
Okay. So then let the record show that item has passed 4-1.
And then this is on the council agenda for this evening as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so we have one other item that's agendized for closed session, and that item is item number 6. Does someone want to read that language? Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 9.851 sub G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the rendering of oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding the memorandum of understanding with the Wausau Central Wisconsin Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Herbst. We'll go ahead and roll call vote for closed session. Martins?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Ryan? Aye. I'll vote aye as well. Since all members are here in person and we don't have anyone on WebEx, we will conduct our closed session in the Maple Room and then reconvene in this chamber after.